breath. We come to you today in a very good way. We are only asking for good things. As we sit here together as a community and as we breathe together, we breathe in the spirit of all that is, that exists within us. The kingdom that lies within us, we connect to. And we ask that we relax into the flow of love. That we can let go of the expectations that everyone in the world is placing upon us. And that we can give abundantly more than we ever thought we could. Just through our being, through our love, through our compassion. We ask for the directions from the east, where the sun rises and the great awakening begins. Great Spirit, we ask that you awaken us deeper, more profoundly. Let us get in touch with our essence and with remembering who we are and why we are here on this planet. We ask for the vision of the eagle to let us see through spiritual eyes and not get caught up through the distraction of our own visibility. And Great Spirit, we ask for the direction of the south, where the fire that burns within us with passion and with purpose be ignited, and that it be enhanced to burn away any fear, any concerns or worries that do not come from you, Great Spirit. We ask for the intelligence of the wolf to guide us, bring us knowledge. And as we turn to the direction of the west, where our ancestors go to lay to rest, where the sun goes to sleep and Grandmother Moon rises, we ask for all of our ancestors, from our blood lineage and from the land, to walk with us and guide us. We ask for the courage and the strength of the bear, for we know we have to make a stand, for if we do not, we will fall for everything. And as we turn to the north, we ask for the wisdom of the great buffalo. We must recognize that not all knowledge is wisdom, but through you, great wisdom comes. We accept this. We pray that we receive all the messages today in a good way, and we lift each other up in our communities and our families. As we ask in the name of all that is, so it shall be. Amen. Hope. For those of you who may be new to us, welcome. This is based on all belief systems, because we do believe that everyone is walking spiritually, searching and seeking truth. So I'm not here to tell you what to believe today. I'm here to ask that you question. That's all I ask. I want you to question everything. Question your belief. Question why it is that you believe that way. Question, where did that belief come from? Question. Because we're in a time of great change. How many of you feel that? You know it in your heart of hearts. You know we are in a time of great change. No matter what book you read, whether it be the Bible, whether it be the Quran, whether it be the Kabbalah, the Torah, every religion, every belief system does agree that we are here and now, and it is a time of great change. We are influencing that change. You are influencing that change. Every single molecule in your energetic being is influencing what is happening in the world. We're taught by many that to be in fear? How many of you believe that it's permeated in our culture to be fearful? How many of you would say that? To be in fear. Just raise your hand if you feel television, fear. Fear. It's fear. It's fear. Be afraid. Be afraid. Be afraid. Be afraid. And then they took that fear and they put that fear on the Creator. And they said, be afraid of your Creator. Be afraid of your Creator. And when you dropped into fear from that Creator, you created separateness. You became here, and the Creator was here. When fear separated you from the Creator, I'm going to ask that we try our best today to let go of that fear. The Creator that created you, whether you call this Creator God, Buddha, Gaia, Yahweh, Jehovah, Jesus, Shiva. See, there have been many, many names. When you drop into fear, how many of you, when you're afraid of someone, you want to spend a lot of time with them? You just can't wait to be around them. You just want to be in conversation with them. How many of you would say, when you're in fear of somebody, you just can't wait to be in their presence? Do you see? Do you see the dichotomy? Do you see the separateness? You drop into fear. Fear of judgment. Fear of going to a fiery place forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. And when you drop into this fear, you separate from the love. And in every spiritual book that I have found, when it references the Creator, it references the Creator as what? God is love. So if you're in fear, it's very difficult to have the vibration of love. Do you see? Does fear and love feel different to you? When you're in fear, do you feel different than when you're in love? Yes? Okay. So love has a different frequency or a different vibration. And if you look up at the chart, I want you to take a peek at this chart because we've looked at this chart a few times. Last time we were very, very, very science. How many of you were here last time? You saw all the science that we had up here. Science is finally doing what? It's meshing and proving that what we have believed as spiritual beings for a long time is true. Now when we walk in faith, we don't have the science behind it, right? Because there's nothing there. We're walking in faith that it is going to come into fruition. Well, guess what? Now is the time of it coming into fruition. Science is backing everything. Everything has been proven as energy. So where's my little pointer? So if you look at, we're talking today about letting go. And this is going to be a series because we can't cover everything in one. So letting go and allowing the ascension to continue. So if you look at this chart has actually scientifically been shown that when you are in a state of love, you vibrate at a different frequency. So what they did is you know what an EEG is and an EKG is? An EEG is for your brain, EKG is for your heart. EEG measures your brainwave activity, EKG measures your heart wave activity, right? So these are waves we can't see by the common vision. We can't look and see. Now there are people that are gifted in a way that they can see energies, okay? And when they can see the energies, they can see how they flow. So when you're in love and you feel in love, it's a very, very good feeling. How many of you have ever been in love? If you're not raising your hand, you're not going to. Yeah, you've either been in love with your puppy, your kitty cat, your mama, your daddy, your husband, your wife, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your brother, your sister. You've been in love. We've all been in love. And love is so wonderful, isn't it? How many of you just love to be in love? I love to be in love. I'm in love with you. I'm in love with you. I'm in love with all of you because you're all so individual. We have fingerprints. They're all individual, aren't they? There's no two fingerprints in the world exactly alike. And there are no two people like you. Your frequency is a frequency that only you have. So it's like a fingerprint. So for kids, they like to sit and, do the little inky so they can see. Well, now they've finally been able to see that we have a vibratory frequency. And so when we're vibrating and and love and peace and joy, we're vibrating up here. But when we drop down into things like guilt and shame, how many of you have ever been ashamed of something? How many of you like that feeling? Oh, doesn't it eat at your heart? It just eats at your heart. I'm ashamed. I did that. I can't. You try to make it right, but you know, once things are said, you can't ever really retract them. So you can apologize, but you never can really pull it all back in. And so you drop in shame. Do you think the Creator wants you to resonate in shame? No. The Creator does not want that for you. The Creator that created you because you're magnificently wonderful. You're an amazing being. You have power that is so great that you have left it untouched for so long that you must remember. In the remembering of who you are, you no longer are a victim. You now stand in victory. So whether you are walking with Christianity or with Muslim belief, every belief system believes that our feelings are a way that the Creator speaks to us, our emotions. So I have a question for you. How many of you think you're a victim? Life just happens. Just happens. And when bad things happen, this is what I hear a lot. And I have to share this because most of this is just I'm being moved by Spirit to share these messages today. I'm giving to you today in a good way. In a way to help you remember who you are and the power that exists within you. And why the powers that are out there want that. Where there is one energy, there is an opposing energy. How many of you know enough about energy that you know that's how it works? Where there is one, there is an opposing. So if we awaken to the incredible power that you have in you, the magnificence that the Creator put in you, the kingdom of God lies where? I say it all the time. I'm going to say it every Sunday. I'm going to say it every Sunday. The kingdom of God lies where? Within you. But you were taught to do what? Look outside of you to find all the answers. You were taught that you are a victim and that somebody needs to come and save your poor soul. Because if they don't come in and save you, you're going somewhere that you're going to be forever and you're going to be burned forever and ever and ever. Amen. Now the Creator of all that is, how many of you have children? How many of you have children? How many of you have a child, whether you gave birth or you didn't give birth, but you were close to a child, a niece, a nephew, but you were close. And that child does something wrong. And you've got to teach the child. So there's something that you do to teach the child. Okay? Would you place that child that you care so deeply about, that you created, and that you spent all this time with, would you place that child somewhere that would be tortured forever and ever 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 and ever? Does it resonate in your soul? Here's where we have a dichotomy. We've been taught for a long time certain interpretations of certain scriptures, and they've been interpreted in a way that has skewed who we are because our mind allowed it to take root. Now, let's talk about karma for a minute. Okay, karma is good and karma is bad. Karma is both. What you send out from you shall be returned to you 10 times over. How many of you have ever read it or heard it or seen it or know it? Okay, so if we do something wrong, if we misuse our energy in some way, that energy has to be balanced out, right? And it's balanced out in a way that sometimes we will interpret as bad. But it's kind of like you parenting your child. You're teaching, well, if you use your energy in this way, this happens, and it doesn't feel good. But if you use your energy in this way, this happens, and it feels wonderful. Does that make sense? So, I will share with you something from me personally, because I feel like you need to know something about me personally, especially if you're new. I do not buy into any one belief system. I believe that every belief system is seeking for truth and honesty. So, if we're looking at how can we let go and allow the ascension to continue, we have to let go of many things. Many, many, many things. One of the things that we have to let go of is fear. And if you look at fear, fear and the vibration of fear. Flip back. Can you go back 2 slides? You just, you hit, she's on a slideshow, so you tab that way, tab backwards. I don't know, you have to hit shift and tab backwards. You see the tab? The left arrow, yes. Did you get there? No. You want me to help? Remember the cone? Why she's bringing it up? You remember the cone? Okay. So where was fear at on the cone? The bottom. So it was in a contracted state of an energetic being, right? It was contracted. Does that make sense? So we have a special guest among us today, and I wanted to, before I go any further, I wanted to recognize her and have her come up for just a couple of minutes while you're thinking about a vibration, because she's got a lot to say about vibrations and how vibrations work. But she's going to be putting on a presentation at the end. And I was going to do this in her announcements, and it slipped my mind, but when I looked at her, all of a sudden it said, wait! So I want Dr. Adele, or Alel, Dr. Alali to come up and spend just a couple of minutes telling you what she's going to present at the end of our gathering today. Because it's important, because it goes right along with frequency and vibration. And it goes along with how to tap in to who you are and what you really are about, and how to fully ascend into, how many of you would agree that we are all spiritual beings having a human experience? We're spiritual beings. There's something that came from somewhere, and we're having a human experience. So how can we walk spiritually while we're being human, with the chaos that's going on around us? And I will share with you one thing before we go to her. I do ask that during our presentation today, or during our conversation today, that this be exchanged. I don't like to talk at you. I don't like that. I like to talk with people. So if I say something that moves your spirit and you feel like a hallelujah, or amen, or a praise God, or a, woo! Or, oh my gosh, I read that. Just last week I read this article and it told me this and I researched that and it led me down this path and you want to share that. You want to know why? Because this is a community of giving. It's not about me. It's not about you. It's not about you. It's about us. So if you'll just take a couple of minutes, come up here and share what you're going to share with us while I help her to tap backwards. That would be beautiful.
Good morning, everyone. I have been so moved already by the message. I've been sitting here just letting these little tears come down because God has a way of taking you where you need to be cleansed, where you need to be renewed and restored. For those of you that don't know, my name is Dr. Alali. I'm a registered nurse and an environmental health physicist. And as we're talking about frequencies today, my life has been kind of deeply entrenched in energy work and frequencies because so much of what we're feeling, the depression, the diseases, the cancer, the diabetes, and heart disease, is actually coming from frequencies and energies around us. And in medicine, we've never taken the occasion to calculate how they are impacting our lives. So I want to just, give a big hug and a big warmth of thank you to Dr. Bob Stein and his lovely wife, Cecilia, who have really embraced me and my team. To my colleague, Mr. Roy Johnson, who is a superstar engineer from General Motors, retired. Mr. Johnson, if you could just stand up. He's been tremendous, travels with me, and he has just been really outstanding with taking what we do and putting it together. So what is it that we do? It's better, I like to do this show and tell. But thank you, Mr. Johnson. If you will just grab your meter and just get me a number off of a socket someplace. And I need a volunteer, just real quick. We only got like 2 minutes. Volunteer again. I want to show you what we do. Right now, we're concerned about the energy in the walls, the energy in the electronics, the energy in the wireless that you have in your house, and how that can impact your health. I'm a gold medal winner for the United States for inventing this little nano device that helps to keep you balanced. And I bought a house that almost killed me and my family. I got breast cancer, had a stroke, went into severe depression. My son got a brain injury the last year of high school, completely lost his ability to learn. And I've made this my life passion so that your families are healthy. And what happened to us is not your portion to inherit. So we're going to turn this wall into her bedroom, and we're going to see how she's going to respond to the radiation in the wall. Now there's a lot of energy coming off this wall, and when we walked in, Mr. Johnson said, I see an amethyst stone, which is a stone of healing that gives a lot of energy, to balance. So here we are. The little test we do at Columbia called Bedort testing, B-D-O-R-T. Everybody say Bedort. Spell it with me. B-D-O-R-T. Put your thumb in the air, okay, and put your ring finger next to your pinky together. Most people will balance with these two fingers. This test was invented by a medical doctor to let us know about your electrical system, your energy system, and when you come out of balance. So you're going to put these two fingers together. You're going to rotate your wrist so it's looking at the ceiling, and the tester is going to come up and take their thumb and middle fingers, make two O's, and stick those O's in your one O. Now you're going to resist and not let me open your fingers. 1, 2, 3, go. So she's balanced. Now let me have the other hand. 1, 2, 3, are you sure? She's balanced in both hands. Okay? Now, we're going to see how your bedroom is affecting you and why so many of us are losing energy and becoming depressed and frustrated and short-fused, and we can't seem to get to zero stress. Here's her bedroom. How many of you sleep by show of hands within 2 feet of a wall? Let me just see your hands in the air. So I would say probably 80% of you. So here, this is Barbara. Okay. Barbara, we're going to pretend this is the wall behind your bed. We're going to have you come up here and just touch the wall. Now I'm going to add muscle testing to the door pet testing. Muscle testing is what most people are familiar with. I'm going to have her stick her arm up in the air. Stick it up. And you find the bony prominence on your wrist. The testing is going to take 2 fingers and lay it on that bone. Do this. So let me put your arm down. 1, 2, 3, go. And you see the wall knocks her right out. And let's do the door test. We're going to stay on the wall. Fingers on the wall. 1, 2, 3, are you sure? And it knocks her nervous system or her electromagnetic system becomes imbalanced. This is why so many of our children are having mental, emotional storms. Because if this radiation level is over 200, it can throw you into bipolar, throw you into schizophrenia, make you feel like you're lost. You can just be weeping because you don't feel that you're inside of your soul. And so God has given me a technology to rebalance that on contact. What was my numbers?
You got 14, 15.
1,400, 1,500, safe levels are below 50. We have too many electrical infrastructures on our grids. And what they're doing is creating radiation feedback in your homes that's tasing you. So let's see how far away from this wall she has to be before she's not being tased. We're going to come about 4 feet away from the wall, so you get out. That makes fingers together. In order to test the wall, you're going to make an antenna just like this. She's about 2 feet away from the wall. All your strength? 1, 2, 3, go. So about 2 feet away from the wall, she's still losing energy to the muscle, but she's a little stronger. 1, 2, 3. She's still losing energy to the nerve. So let's come 4 feet away from the wall. Now, mind you, your bed is in this space, so it's picking up the energy in your box springs. 1, 2, 3, are you strong? So she's rock solid 4 feet away. Fingers together. 1, 2, 3, are you strong? She has to be 4 feet away from the wall to be able to keep a balance so she can possess joy in her soul. Now you know why so many people are so grumpy. You get up, you're more fatigued, and you went to bed. So let's just solve that problem. We're going to come back. We're going to take this little nanotechnology. We have all kinds of technology that God has blessed us with. I am not a molecular physicist, so I had to get up in the morning and study Albert Einstein and all the big Nikola Teslers, all the people of energetics. I had to go to Westinghouse, take some classes, go to Germany, learn with engineers that do molecular physics. Had to go to England to be able to learn how to do this. 1, 2, 3, are you sure? Rock solid, no energy loss. So how about if we just transform our homes, 1, 2, 3, to have sustained energy? Isn't that amazing? I want to show you just real quick one thing, how women are getting breast cancer. 9 out of 10 women are on a fast track to breast hair. God has made a diagnostic system in your body in these two fingers. The tips of them. Step away from the wall for me, please. And take this hand, the left hand, put it just right here to the breast tissue. Fingers together. Look what it did to the muscle in her chest wall. 1, 2, 3, go. It completely absorbed radiation to the muscle. When radiation is absorbed to the muscle, you don't get enough oxygen to take. Let's see what it did to the nerve. 1, 2, 3, on the ready? 1, 2, 3, on the completely absorb radiation to the nerves. The only thing we know about cancer, if you have cancer, you didn't get enough oxygen. You didn't maintain enough balance of that tissue. So how about we change that? We have tubes that broadcast this, amplify this in the wall, or we can just simulate it, just touch the wall. We need you to help her count to 10 again. Come on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now let's see how God has made provision to rebalance her breast while she's sleeping. Come off the wall for me. 2 fingers to the breast. Okay, let's see what it did to the muscle. 1, 2, 3, on strip, rock solid. Let's see what it did to the nerve. 1, 2, 3, on strip, rock solid. Let's give a hand clap to God and his doctor. Our Creator wants us well, and we're just here to serve your anointing and make sure you have the wellness you need. Thank you, Pastor, for your offer.
Thank you so much. Give her a big round of applause. We're going to be doing a full demonstration, and the reason why, typically I don't have presentations done like this, but how many of you know that I've been having sleeping issues? Like, to the point where I was really having severe sleeping issues. And I called and I found out they had put a smart meter on my house. And it was a meter that they don't need a reader anymore. It transmutes or transmits your electric usage to the nearest cell phone tower. Okay? And so somebody had told me, well, Selena, you know, have you checked to see if they put a smart meter on your house since you haven't been sleeping? And I said, no, but you know, wouldn't they have told me or something if they were going to do that? And so I went out there and I took a picture of it and I did some research, and sure enough, it was a smart meter. I had them come out, I had them remove it from my house because it was putting out 50,000 all day, every day. Do you know as soon as they removed it, I had the best night's sleep? And I didn't know. This was a test for me. It was a test because I was like, well, maybe that's not it. Maybe it's something else. As soon as they removed it, I slept very well.
Also beware, they've come up with a new smart meter that looks like the manual ones, and they're trying to change them out again. So beware of that. It's showing that round thing, like the old ones, but they're just doing it to trick people like the cell phone tower.
Yeah, now I made them actually give me the model number and everything, and I went out on the web to the actual creators of the meter to make sure that it did not have that technology in it. So I'm a firm believer that if we're all energy, how many of you agree we're all energy? We're energy.
Yeah.
That's what we are. Okay? So if we're all energy, we're influenced by different vibratory frequencies.
Exactly.
So if we're being influenced by television, mentally, emotionally, how many of you are watching something, you find you're holding your breath? You're watching a movie and it's like, dun, 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 and you're like, all of a sudden you're, God, I can breathe, I was holding my breath. Your breath is influenced. Your mental, your emotional, your physical, and if that's being influenced, I promise you, it's affecting your spiritual growth. Because it's all intertwined. So if we're trying to stay up here, and fear is down here, all right, at 100, and we're trying to get up here, but we're staying in fear all the time, fear of, what do you guys do when you wake up in the morning? What do you do when you wake up in the morning? Tell me what you're...
I just jump right up.
You jump right up? What do you do after you jump right up?
Go to the bathroom.
Go to the bathroom. Good gracious, that's awesome. Anybody that doesn't jump up and go to the bathroom, I'll tell you. God bless you. I'm glad I can't do that. I jump up and go straight to the bathroom. What do you see? What do you see in the bathroom? I see dirty underwear on the floor. But have you written yourself or printed out anything positive that you put on the back of your door or on your mirror? Or what are your eyes lying on? Facebook, iPad, okay, technology, What you reading on Facebook and iPad? Okay. What are you reading in the morning, love? What are you reading? Aha! I love you! She's very emotional. I love it. Do you want to know why? Because most people get up and the first thing they do is they turn on TV. And what do you hear them on TV? Or they get the newspaper. And they sit there and they read the newspaper. What are you hearing? Say bad. So you are a spiritual being wanting to be positive and filled with love and filled with peace and filled with compassion. And you are giving yourself what to feed on? Negativity. And do you think where there's negativity, negativity grows? How many of you have heard that? Negativity is like cancer. It just grows and grows and grows and grows and grows. So you're feeding your soul, your spirit, your mind, your emotions. Everything's negative, negative, negative. But you expect yourself to be here. So last gathering, we did a 30-day challenge, which went 30 days without complaining, without reading anything that would cause you to be angry, without reading Facebook or Twitter or any of that would cause negativity in your influence. How many of you have really been able to do that? Like consistently you've read nothing that's made you upset or invoked negative emotion. It's difficult, isn't it? So how can we be a spiritual being? Ascending to a different consciousness when we're being inundated with all of that. Does that make sense? So I'm here to help you let go. So we've got some things to cover. So we're letting go of fear right now. So I'll give you an example. One of the things that I read was the Malaysia flood. Okay? And my heart, it was touched deeply. And I spent some great time praying for those families and praying for the loved ones that were left behind. Asking that we didn't allow that hatred and that anger to take root in our spirit because of what had happened. So I spent that time, but it did affect me. It affected me emotionally. I cried. I was upset. I was moved. My heart was moved. Now, I could have used that experience to drop in fear. And it is being used to permeate fear. To put you in fear. To put you in fear. I walked into GameStop yesterday with my son, my beautiful son, Aaron. And a big recording came on every time the door opened. And it said that all of your conversations were being recorded while you're in GameStop. All of them. And I said, what? So Scout, being the Scout that she is, she's like, you're recording all. Now, the place is full, and you know GameStops, they're not very big. So she very loudly says, why are you recording all of our conversations in here? Oh, we've been robbed. And she said, and? And he goes, well, she goes, that's just stuff they're telling you to make it okay establishment that's going to record everybody's conversations. And he said, well, it's a means to an end, and as long as we don't get robbed. You think you're not going to get robbed because you're recording a conversation? What was that? Philip DeFranco quit being stupid. So that was another thing that affected me, right? Because I'm like, you have no right to record my conversation. I could be saying something to a loved one I don't want you to hear. That is not. But again, it's fear-based, right? So you're waking up in the morning, you're feeding yourself all of this fear stuff, and then you want to be happy. And feel good. Is it going to work? No. Just like if I allow my house to continue to be inundated with all the EMFs and the EMRs, and I expect my spirit to flourish and grow and activate all of the DNA that's in my body. Now, we've had a lot of conversations about this, but I'm going to give a brief recap. So we have, everybody know what DNA? DNA is genetic, okay? DNA has now been proven to carry infinite amounts of information. Infinite. Now they say that we have these 12 DNA strands that are junk DNA. I just love it when science wants to label something the Creator did as junk. Now how many of you think the Creator kind of has it right? How many of you think that man's ego wants to make him think he's right? Okay? That's all ego, right? Now I want you to think about that for a minute. Think about it. You are a spiritual being that has this physical body that's completely separate. So you're a ghost driving a meat-covered skeleton. Because when this goes away, I'm going somewhere else, aren't I? My energy is going somewhere else. Why are you afraid? Why are you afraid? Fear does not come from the Creator. Fear is a way to control and to dominate and to make you believe that you are less than you are, so that you will just go along with the masses and not cause a problem for us. How many of you know how many problems Jesus caused? How many of you know? That was one. He caused it. He caused a load of problems. Let's talk about Buddha. Let's talk about Gandhi. Let's talk about Nelson Mandela. How many problems did he cause? He caused some problems, didn't he? Why? Because he was no longer willing to accept what man was telling them was impossible. Every single one of them has said something to this effect. Even you shall do greater things than I. If you are stuck in fear, you cannot do greater things than Jesus, Buddha, Gandhi, or anybody else. You cannot. So I'm not here to put fear in you. I'm here to pull you out of that. I love kids because they don't have fear a lot. You know, do you remember being a kid? How many of you remember being a kid? Did y'all do some crazy things? Did y'all do some crazy things? Did you do some crazy things? Okay, my first motorcycle accident, age 6. Barbed wire fence. Now, would I be so quick to do that? Not so quick to do that because I have learned, ouch, that hurts and it takes a while for my body to repair. But children don't have fear. Children are the closest to the Creator because they just got here in this human body. Does that make sense? So we can learn a lot from kids. But what we do as parents is what do? We try to teach them. We suppress their happiness. I walked into a restaurant a few years ago, and I'll never forget, there was this beautiful blonde girl, and she was dancing, and she was giggling, and she was playing. She was outside in front, because there was a big long lake. She's having a great old time. Her mom was chit-chatting. She looks at her and she goes, "Stop!" She was like chit-chatting. "Quit doing it!" She was like, I went up to her mom and I said, "I thought that was beautiful. Wow, that just gave me something to do, is to raise my vibration and enjoy her joy." Does that make sense? How many of you, when kids laugh, you can't help but laugh? You know it. It's contagious. So just like fear is contagious, so is joy, so is happiness, so is peace. So the Torah says, do not be scornful of anyone or doubt that anything can happen. Anything can happen. Years ago, you didn't think you could run a marathon. Now, how many people are doing it? Now we got people running 200-mile marathons. I read a thing on a couple that's 60-something years old, and they run a marathon every day. They run 26 miles. Now, I hear you. I'm right here with you. I'm like, I need to take up running. But do not, that anything can happen, for there is no person without his hour and nothing without its place. So, fear, you have fear of a lot of different things. Fear of success, fear of failure, fear of somebody embarrassing you. I'm going to ask you, do all you can to let go of fear. When you feel yourself drop into fear, I ask you just to spend some time in prayer and meditation. Because let me tell you, when you learn, prayer is talking to God. Meditation is listening. And when God speaks back to you, the Creator speaks back to you, Buddha, whatever the source is, the matrix, the source, is speaking back to you, you are not in fear. Because where there is faith, fear cannot reside. It's the opposing energies. If you are in faith, you will initiate faith in all of those around you. If you are in fear, you will initiate fear to all those things around you. So what goes along with fear is guilt. How many of you ever been guilty? You ever felt guilty? You ever did something you felt guilty about? Anybody? Anybody? It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good. Guilt does not feel good. Now, guilt is a good thing if we can say, oh, that's telling me I'm doing something wrong. just by your being. So your guilt, go ahead.
Our prisons are full of inmates who are full of guilt.
How many of you have ever done anything in prison? Whether it's you visited somebody, you went for prison ministry, but you went there for something. How many of you? How many of you could feel it? You could feel it was powerful. The guilt, the shame, the fear, the anger, the rage, all of the things that are the contracted state of being and not the expanded state of being. Nelson Mandela said he spent 27 years in jail. You want to know what he said? He said he didn't spend a day. Do you want to know why? Because you can encompass somebody's physical being, but you cannot cage their spirit. It's an impossibility. Impossible. So when you look at guilt, what I want you to feel is if you feel guilt, I'm going to ask you to let it go. I'm going to ask you to let it go here today. I'm going to ask you to just let it flow through you. It is not serving you. It's not serving your spiritual being. It's not serving your emotional being. It's not serving you in any way. It's not serving your family. It's not serving your community. It is not serving you. Can you guys let it go? Can you just let it go? You can't change the past. What you can do is learn from it. Everything is a learning experience. I bet you whatever that taught you a lot. So just let it go. You learned it. Be grateful for the lesson. Throw away the rest. Be grateful. Be in gratitude. It taught you something. So no matter what you do, we all fall short sometimes. I felt bad the other day. I made an appointment with Harmony and her husband to come to her house, and my son was really being mama time. He needed his mama. And I called up and they were so understanding, and I dropped into guilt for just a minute, and I was like, wait a minute, why am I feeling guilty? I'm feeling guilty because I'm staying home with my son who needs my attention. Is there any reason for guilt in that? There's not. Do you see how our ego gets in there and twists things just to keep you in your place? Make sure you let the ego stay in charge all the time. So, I'm going to ask that you get rid of the guilt, and then you start focusing more on love, compassion, peace. In Luke it says, judge not, and you will not be judged. Condemn not, and you will not be condemned. Forgive, and you will be forgiven. Okay, I have to be honest. I've been in many spiritual places. And I say spiritual because they're spiritual places. I don't want to say church because it negates all the other places that I've been. I'm going to say many other places. And what I found is there was a lot of judgment. What's the Baptist church that pickets the
Westboro.
Westboro. Okay. Do you think they believe what they're doing is right? They believe what they're doing is right.
What are they doing?
They picket funerals of soldiers because they say that the reason why the soldier died is because that the soldier is defending a country that is based on homosexuality.
Oh, you got it.
So, but they believe what they're doing is right. They believe what they're doing is right. They do. How many people you've been to some place and it's told you how you are walking in sin all the time and you should be ashamed and you should stay in prayer? And how many of you have heard it? You've heard it.
I need that.
There's no place for that. There's no place for that. There's no place for that. That time has come and gone. Many shall come to mislead you. Do you think it just happened? Do you think they're just showing up? Or do you think they've been here for a long time? They have taught you you are less than, you are a victim. They have taught you that somebody else must save you. They have taught you that your own Creator is waiting to judge you. They have taught you thou shalt not judge, but then teach you how to judge. Oh, is this the one?
That just came up today.
Sorry, she just handed me something that just came up today. It's from Orange Church of God, and it says surfers, skateboarders, musicians, artists, vegetarians, occupiers, activists, addicts, and fornicators are all going to hell. Repent now. So I'm just going to ask you to stand up where it is. Are you a surfer? Have you ever surfed? Have you ever surfed? Stand up. Stand up. Stay standing. alcohol and drugs, honey. It can be food. It can be lots of other things. Yeah. All right. We're all on the same boat. Give yourselves a big round of applause. There's no place in that. There's no place here. There's no place where there is. Where two or more are gathered, there I am. And there's no place for me to sit here and tell you in judgment and dogma where you're going.
I just wanted to say, I heard last night that God's grace is, if we understood the depth of how much grace God had for us, we feel like we were drowning.
It's true. Do you know I read something? Again, I'm trying really hard not to read anything or see anything that's going to really make me upset, but this really made me upset. It made me so upset I went on a rampage, and I'm probably going to go on a rampage now when I start talking about it, but I really feel like it needs to be brought to your attention. And that was, I'm going to get a lot of soapbox. If you want to join me, please feel free. So I was reading this letter of, what do they call it? I forget when you, excommunication. I was reading a letter of excommunication that somebody posted on Facebook that it was their excommunication letter. And their excommunication letter told them that because their lifestyle was not what they deemed that was Bible-driven, that they were no longer welcome to be a part of the church, and they were excommunicated. And they made this announcement in front of the whole congregation, and they just wanted them to know that they were not going to heaven.
Jehovah's Witnesses do that. They actually turn their back.
But Jehovah's Witnesses don't believe that you're going to heaven. They don't believe in heaven, and they don't believe in hell. No human being on the face of the planet has a right to tell you you don't get to go to heaven. No human on the face of this planet. God did not come down here and say, Jeremiah, you get to tell people who get to come into the gates of the kingdom of God and who don't. Who don't? That was not proper. I got my PhD with my English is like no human being has the right to tell you you don't get to go somewhere. No human being has that right. That is between you and the creator of all that is.
So I think it's sad that most people don't realize that people who are talking like that, they are themselves acting in fear and guilt.
It's a
And they
reflection.
are trying to teach others. That is just so sad.
That's the blind.
The blind are leading the blind.
Yeah.
How many times have we read that there's a veil over people's eyes?
You know what's funny is when you try to talk to somebody and make them feel better about that, how they'll attack you.
Sometimes
That's the opposing energy. Because if we all awaken and we all become conscious and we all become in the state of love and peace and enlightenment where we can do no harm to anyone, guess what? We lose the attachment to our things. We no longer want to be buying this, buying that, bigger houses, bigger cars, bigger this, bigger that. We don't want that because that's no longer part of our energetic flow. Does that make sense?
I was going to say, consider sometimes the person who is telling us those things stronger than anybody can be ourselves.
And that is what?
Programming.
Ego.
I knew he was going to get it. Ego. Because the ego, guess what? The ego got in charge when we separated ourselves. If you look at the brain, and I know I got to hurry up because we got so much things to do. If you look at the brain and you look at the spinal column and you look at the nerves in the way, how many of you have ever seen the tree of life? It's like the depiction of the tree of life. It looks very much like the tree of life. Okay? Well, when we became separate, and that means we separated our mind and our heart, because our heart is really where we should be operating from. But not only did we separate our mind from our heart, we separated the left side from the right side, and the left side became very logical, and the right side became very spiritual. Right? So the right side is very artistic, creative, the left side is very logistical, analytical. So we separated all these parts of ourselves. And it's all about remembering and bringing that into harmony. We separated ourselves from the Creator through fear, through anger, through guilt. We separated. So it's about coming together. It's about lifting the veil off your eyes so that you get to see who you are really, like really who you are. And that's what's so awesome. So we've been on this journey we call life, and we've allowed outside people to tell us who we are and what we are. So if you look, I love this saying. It actually came out of the Bhagavad Gita, and I know I'm supposed to say up here, so. He who has let go of hatred. Now it's wrong to hate anything, even if we have seen it as bad. Like you might say, I hate a murderer. But hate is hate, no matter which way it flows. If you're sending out hate, that which you send out shall come back. Be careful. Let go of hatred, who treats all beings with kindness and compassion, who is always serene, unmoved by pain or pleasure. Free of the I and mine, self-controlled, firm and patient, his whole mind focused on me. That is the man I love best. The Bhagavad Gita, and that is from the yogic belief system. I love this. Free of the I and mine. How many of you catch yourself? Mine. I. That's mine. I do this. I do that. I. What if it was we? We're making a change in this world. We. You. Me. Us. All of us. We are all connected. How many of you believe that? We're all connected. We are all connected. We are all connected. I would love to show you more science, but I can't because we still have a couple more things. I'm going to move very, very quickly, and that's judgment. How many of you find yourself judging? Yeah. I bet you. How many of you judge yourself? I bet you judge yourself way before you judge other people, don't you? Look in the mirror and you're like, oh, this isn't right, that's not right, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not tall enough, I'm not thin enough, I'm not toned enough, I'm not 20 anymore, I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm not. That's judgment. That's all judgment. That's all judgment. So I'm going to ask you to let it go. Let go of the judgment. Let go of it. Don't judge yourself and don't judge others. Question your beliefs. Where did they come from? Are you just believing them because somebody told you that? Get in a quiet space and ask yourself, does that feel right to me? Does it feel right in my spirit, in my soul, in my gut? Is it right? Does that make sense? Judgment only shuts you down and those that are around you. How many of you believe that? Judgment shuts you down and all those that are around you. For a long time, I tried to live my life for everybody else. I tried to live my life for my mama. I tried to live my life for my daddy. I tried to live my life for my husband. I tried to live my life for my children. And I just now recently got to a space of, wait a minute, I have to live my life first and foremost by me and the Creator. And through that, all that happens, I will be giving to my family, and to my mom, and to my daddy, and to my kids, and to my community. But again, our focus has been taught to us what? That if we focus on ourselves, we're what? Selfish. Isn't it funny how everything that resonates of the Creator has been twisted in some way to make you do the exact opposite, and you think you're serving? Isn't that funny? It's very interesting. So if you look, it says, I will let go of my desires to be right. Happiness is more important than being. I will strive to be less reactive, to hear and accept the beliefs and ways of the others. To hear and accept. That doesn't mean I have to believe it. It just says to hear and to accept. I accept the fact that you may believe differently than me. I think I'll keep reading that. I will strive to be less reactive, to hear and accept the beliefs and ways of others, to look upon them with compassion and understanding. I will look at all people and all situations with an open heart and an open mind. It's letting go of those judgments. It's letting go and allowing yourself. And I love it because some people will shift in their belief system, but then I watch them do exactly that. the next one, Scout? So what's the next thing that you need to let go of? Expectation. How many of you is that a big one? Expectation. Expecting things of yourself, expecting things of others, expecting things from your spouse, from your children. Expectation. When you start expecting something, you start leaning on somebody. And then if they move, you fall. Did they let you down, or did you let yourself down? Because you shouldn't have been leaning on somebody to begin with. Expectation. Now you can walk around with a certain amount of expectation, like we should all treat others with kindness and with love and with caring. That's an expectation. But if I carry that expectation out in this world, how many of you know I'm going to be let down before I get out of the parking lot? Before I even leave the parking lot. So we have to let go of expectations, not just of others, but also of ourselves, expecting us to be Superwoman or Superman, or I should be able to do this and I should be able to do and then when you don't, you beat yourself up and self-flagellate. And then what good is that doing to your spirit, to your flow? It's not enhancing it. Again, your ego is at play, and it's keeping you in a place of fear and control. In John, it says, peace, peace I leave with you. My peace I give to you, not as the world gives to you. Peace is not conditional, my love. It's unconditional. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid. Do not be in fear, do not be in worry. Worry is a wasted emotion. Now, it's a wasted emotion. What are you worried about? You're worried about something that hasn't occurred yet. How is that not crazy? It's insane. It is insane. You're sitting ruminating and spending all your energy on what might or might not ever occur in your lifetime. Ever. So it's a wasted emotion. So if you're in peace, if you're in harmony, if you're in compassion and love, you're expanding. So what else, and it's going to be the last thing I talk about, is attachments. How many of you are attached to something? Y'all all are attached to something. I bet you I can name some things you're attached to. Let me give it a shot. How many of you are attached to your house? How many of you are attached to your spouse? Oh, I feel like a cat in a hat. How many of you are attached to your bed? How many are you attached to your wedding ring? How many of you are attached to your car? How many of you are attached to your gym? How many of you are attached to your friends? How many of you are attached to your teeth? How many of you are attached to your children? Oh, my children are my big attachment. I've been trying. I'm working on it. But I'm just completely attached. Now, if you're attached to things, you can have good attachments and not so good attachments. But what the Buddhists believe is that all suffering comes from attachment. And think about that. All suffering comes from attachment. How many of you went through 2008, 2009 when the real estate market crashed and people were losing their houses? How many of you saw people flipping out? Why? Because they were attached to what? Their house. I don't want to let it go. And God's over there going, I got something better for you, honey. Just let it go. It can come into fruition. Just let it go. It's the attachment to things that we're being bombarded with. How many of you watch TV? How many watch TV? Okay. What's on TV? Buy, 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 buy. Where's that from? Nemo, Finding Nemo. Where all the pelicans are going, mine. That's how we are as a society. Why? It's flashing at commercials. The commercials are louder. They're actually embedded with actual Yes. Go ahead, give it to me.
That's all I can say. There's no word for it. It absolutely drives me to insanity. Thank you, Sally.
It hits subliminal messages and hypnotic waves. Then you drive up the road, and what you got flashing at you? You got billboards now electric. Wah, 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 wah. Buy, and you'll be happy. And you'll be happy if you buy. And then you get attached to what you bought. And then when that has to go away, guess what happens? You suffer. So if we can let go of the attachments, if we can just let them, I'm not saying be complacent and, oh, you can have everything I got. That's not what, please don't misinterpret what I'm saying. But understand, like within yourself, that what you have does not make you. Your house doesn't make you, your car doesn't make you, your spouse doesn't make you, your children don't make you. The things that you have do not make you who you are. Who you are is inside. It's not what you have. Keeping up with the Joneses has gotten us into a whole world of hurt. Well, my neighbor's got it, so I got to get it. My neighbor's expanded, so I got to expand. My neighbor's got a new car, so I have to have a new car. And do you understand? It's attachments, and then it weighs you down, and then you can't figure out why you're not able to lift and expand yourself because you're weighing under. Now you have debt. How many of you have ever been in debt? Maybe still are. It doesn't feel good, does it? So you're in debt. And now you've got all this stuff that's weighing you down, and you've got the debt, and you're trying to operate in love and compassion. It's a difficult thing. Yes?
Can I ask you to go one level deeper and address attachments with children? Just touch it for a moment, please.
Okay. I will share with you that the attachment of children is probably one of the hardest things that you're going to overcome. Buddha left his wife and his children. Okay? He didn't do it in an ugly way. He did it because he had a calling. And he felt like he had to. That this was his role and this is what he was doing. Not that he didn't love his children, he loved his children. I'm going to give you my personal story. I'm hot. Can you turn that down?
Are you like this?
She didn't turn down my hair. It's going to be better than that. That wind's going to blow right here, right now. Just about 2 seconds. I have my own personal stomach. I'm going to share with you attachment through my personal story. So can you guys open your hearts? Okay. My story of my children. I have 8 children in totality, okay? I have 5 in which I gave birth to, and then three more which I adopted, which was my former husband's children from another marriage, which I raised from 1, 2, and 5, okay? My former husband and I got a divorce. It's not something I'm proud of, I will tell you, but I have no judgment towards it, because I know that I wouldn't have grown spiritually the way that I was called to staying in that situation. And the Creator kind of made that very, very clear to me. And when I did, we went through a very, very hard custody battle. Very, 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 very tenacious. Very ugly. Very ugly. I mean ugly. I mean making movies look like they're cartoons. Sleeping with the enemy looks like you should be sitting on the beach sipping martinis and laughing at it. Like ugly. And before I embarked on this whole spiritual thing, I had been walking spiritually for my whole life, but I had been told by the elders that if I chose this path, that I would lose everything. And I thought they were talking about things, right? Like cars, houses, boats, because we had a lot in that manner. And I was like, but I'm not attached to that. That doesn't make me, that doesn't break me. I don't really care about it. I can live in the woods if I need to, you know. And what I didn't realize is it also meant my children. And got custody of my children. Actually, we had shared custody until I had to move for my job. But got custody of my children, and I was no longer able to tuck them in every night. I was no longer able to read them their story times. I was no longer able to take them to school. I was no longer able to pick them up from school. I was no longer able to say good morning to you, good morning to you. I used to sing to them all the time, but I wasn't able to do that whenever I felt like it. I wasn't able to just be a part of their life every single day. And Lord, change in my life. I was on my knees 24/7. And I was asking the Creator to help me understand how on God's green earth that this could happen. That I love my children more than the breath of life. I would give up my life in 2 seconds. Not even 2 seconds. Minors. I wouldn't even think about it. What I found is that when you are a parent, it's a gift. You're given what I call angels from above to guide. But this is their walk. This is their walk. This is their journey in this life. Sometimes it doesn't have a bit to do with you. It has everything to do with them. And I had to come to that conclusion. That I couldn't be there every day, but I could be there every single second that I was allowed to be there. And the reason why I say allowed is because my former husband feels very strongly that he has the right to not allow the kids to come when they want to. Does that make sense? It's a battle with the kids in the middle. It's never pretty. So in order to take my kids out of the middle, I had to become detached from them. Does that make sense? I had to pray for them, with them, over them, and be grateful for every single second I had. But I had to let them walk their walk. And sometimes as a parent, we try to take all their pain away. We do. We want to take all their pain away. How many of you just want to take all their pain away? You see that they're going down a bad road, something's wrong, and you're like, no, 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 go over here. That's not going to turn out so well. How many of you have done it? How many of you still do it? How many of you have older children and you still do it? You're like, no, it's not going to work out so well. This is their walk. You have to become detached in that way. Detachment does not mean you don't love them. It does not mean you don't care for them. It does not mean that you're not there for them. But what it means is it's their choices and their walk. And if they're making choices that are not the best choices, you have to let them make those choices. You can't be there always trying to pick up pieces. They're not going to learn. They have to learn just like you've had to learn. I've had to learn. Everybody in here's had to learn. Guess what? For each decision you make, there's consequences, good or not so good. For each decision you make, because it's an energy that you're sending out, it's either going to be complemented with like energy of good or like energy of not so good. Does that make sense? You can't carry their karma for them. You can't. We want to. Let me tell you, as a mama, I want to. But we cannot. And if we can detach from that and know that they're on their spiritual walk, then it lessens our anxiety and our fear, and it allows them to grow. Does that make sense to you? Yes.
I would like to share this. This is a writing from Khalil Gibran on children. And he says, your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. They come through you, but not from you. And though they are with you yet, they belong not to you. You may give them your love, but not your thoughts, for they have their own thoughts. You may house their bodies, but not their souls, for their souls dwell in the house of tomorrow, which you cannot visit, not even in your dreams. You may strive to be like them, but seek not to make them like you. For life goes not backward, nor tarries with yesterday. You are the bows from which your children as living arrows are sent forth. The archer sees the mark upon the path of the infinite, and he bends you with his might, that his arrows may go swift and far. Let your bending in the archer's hand be for gladness, for even as he loves the arrow that flies, so he also loves the bow that is stings.
Children things that have happened. We're having a hard time maybe releasing and letting go. And I'm going to ask you today to do that, to let it go. It is about their journey. They have to learn. Many great books, including the Bible, says, do not take advice from someone who has not personally walked in that situation. Maybe they're made for such greatness, such amazingness, that they have have to walk through the darkness to be able to get to the other side to show. Does that make sense? Sometimes we want to shield them from the darkness and be the light. And in us doing that, we're dimming their light. And we're not allowing their light to prosper and to grow. So from my heart to everybody's heart in here that's feeling that way about their children, because I can feel it, I want you to hear that message today. Did you already go through the Dalai Lama? Look at you. You're getting good on that thing right there. If anybody's really good with technology, we could really use you. I'm just going to let you know. If anybody's really good with technology, you know. Most of our troubles are due to our passionate desire for, and guess what? What's the word? Attachment. To things that we misapprehend as enduring entities. Now that's a lot to marinate on. You could have a full meditation just with that. Attachments. That what? We misapprehend as enduring entities. So when we can let go, then you can begin to fully ascend. And our next soul medicine is going to be all on how to do that. Like what we can do to really scientifically increase our vibratory frequency while we're walking. How we can activate the DNA that's in here. I put this together, and if you like it, please feel free to take pictures of it. I know a lot of you guys enjoy keeping things like this around. I would encourage you to place things like this around your house. On the back of your bathroom door, on your bathroom mirror. Place it at the refrigerator, where you go to visit a lot. In the process of letting go, you will lose many things from the past. But you will find what? In the process of letting go, from the past. But you will find what? Oh, in the process of letting go, you will lose many things from the past. But you will find what? Yourself. Yourself. You will find that underneath all the beliefs that you've been told about yourself, that there is you, which may not resonate with the same beliefs that you've been told about yourself. My dad always, when people would come to me and say, you're so pretty, you're so pretty, you're so pretty, my dad would say, Selena, you are so smart. You are so smart. You're so intelligent. And for as many times as they told me I was pretty or I was beautiful, he would put in my head how smart I was. Because he said, beauty is only skin deep, ugly goes straight to the bone. How many of you have met really, really aesthetically pleasing, beautiful people that are just ugly? Raise your hand. I'm here to tell you. You gotta be careful. You do. The Quran says humanity is but a single brotherhood. So make peace with your brother. Isn't that beautiful? Make peace with all your brothers and your sisters. Make peace with yourself. Make peace. Where there is peace, it's an expanded state. Where there is love, it's an expanded state. Where there is compassion, it's an expanded state. The gifts of the Spirit are what? I can tell you've been reading. I can tell you've been reading. The gifts of the Spirit, the fruit, love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Those are all expanded states, not contracted. So if you look again at the cone, and you enlightenment and reason and acceptance is expanding. So feed your soul. In the morning when you get up, say your positive affirmations. Place things all around your house that tell you how powerful you are, how wonderful you are, how strong you are, how you can do all things through fill in the blank. If it's through Christ that strengthens me, awesome. If it's through Buddha, if it's through source, whatever, but you can do all things because you are not given more than you can do. So I encourage you, feed yourself so that you can be here. If you're going to rejoin us in 2 weeks, you will rejoin us to a more science-driven talk that's going to help you see how you can activate the DNA strands that you have that are not completely activated yet. You're going to learn how to move into a new consciousness, how to be able to not have to struggle to stay in love and peace, but how it will be a natural flow for you. So if you will do me a favor, you will open your palms, you'll close your eyes. In Native culture, we always say we lift our face gently to the Creator. Whatever your school of thought is, I always say if you're praying hard, you're looking down. The Creator typically is everywhere. So lift your face. We're seated. Lift your heart, your spirit. Be open and allow the flow that as you breathe in your breath, you pull in light and you feel the connection with the Creator of all things. And you allow that love to flow through you. And when you exhale, you release any resistance. Let go. I ask you, let go of the anger, the fear, guilt, the judgment. Let go. With your breath, as you breathe it out, release it and let the Creator take it from you and transmute it into love, peace, compassion. And with every inhalation, you breathe in more love. And you see that as the brightest light, almost like the rays of the sun, as it peeks over the mountaintop, while the dew dances and sings to you, your song, to your spirit. And your song is only to you. And as you breathe in more of that light and that love, and with every single exhalation, you let go. Release it. Don't be afraid. Allow it to flow through you. Feel it and let it go. And with each inhalation, you're pulling in more and more light to fill the space where those judgments and that anger and that rage, those attachments, Great Spirit, Creator, Giver of life and Giver of breath, we release all things to you now. We let go, we ask and transmute all those things into love and light, compassion, harmony, joy, and peace. Bring it back to us. Let us know, Great Spirit, that we are a child of the Most High, and that we are strong and made in that image. We're made in the image of abundant love, and we receive that in Him. We give thanks and gratitude for all of that. We're so grateful for this community. I am so thankful to you, Creator, for all of these things. I ask that you bless every single person in this room. You bless them with such abundance and prosperity that their hearts swell and overflow with that love. out with us